To date, I have over 2,000 reviews of Disney films, Disney animations, and for some reason, I have never talked about the 1992 Aladdin film. And I only discovered this because I'm going through all of Disney's feature films chronologically, and I came up to this one and realised I'd never discussed it on its own. So I thought, let's give it a rewatch and see if it still is as good as I remember it. And of course, it absolutely is. And I'm not going to be doing a deep analysis of the film. It's just going to be a very basic snapshot of my opinions. But maybe one day I will do a deep analysis. But that being said, I'm not the world's biggest Aladdin fan. I know a lot of people absolutely adore this film, but it's one that I didn't really grow up watching that much. I did watch it, but kind of stopped watching it once I grew up, whereas there are a lot of Disney films that I've watched very regularly since I was a child. This isn't one of them. However, I have seen it quite a few times over the last few years, mostly because of my love of Robin Williams, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. This was, of course, released in 1992, the year of my birth. It's nice to know what Disney film was out the year I was born. It's directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, written by Ron Clements, John Musker, Ted Elliott, and Terry Rossio. And we have a voice cast, including Scott Weinger as Aladdin, and of course we have Robin Williams as the Genie. We also have Linda Larkin as Princess Jasmine. We also have Gilbert Gottfried, Frank Welker, Charlie Adler, Corey Burton, Jim Cummings. Brilliant voice cast. And the story itself, I won't go into too much detail about what the story is. I'm assuming most people know, but in case you don't, it is about Aladdin, needless to say, who meets Princess Jasmine and falls in love with her. And with the help of a delightful blue genie, he tries to prove worthy of her love, even though he is, in terms of society, significantly below her. And we also have the villainous Jafar, who is very greedy and wants the magic lamp for his own. And the narrative is brilliant. It works very well. The pacing is great. The story is great. We have a great introduction to all of the characters. The characters are brilliant. They're very well written, very well animated, brilliant voice acting. It ticks all of the right boxes. So why didn't I love this? I think there are two reasons. One, I'm just not that bothered about Disney princess stories. Now, one could argue that since Aladdin is the protagonist and Jasmine is, well, she's still technically a protagonist, but Aladdin is definitely at the forefront, it's not necessarily just a Disney princess film. With pretty much every Disney princess film, other than this, the protagonist, often the title of the film, is the princess. But that being said, I was never taken with Jasmine as a character. Aladdin, I don't remember caring for Aladdin very much as a character, but I never disliked Aladdin. But I think the other reason that I didn't watch this that frequently until I fell in love with Robin Williams is because I found it kind of scary. I was a very timid child, and Jafar is by far one of the scariest Disney villains. And even things like the Cave of Wonders, the entrance to the Cave of Wonders is so terrifying that I love it now. I absolutely adore it now, but I think there were just a few too many elements that meant that I was a little scared of this film growing up. But actually watching it now, the scarier elements are some of the things that I love the most, and I have so much appreciation for how well crafted this is, how well animated it is, and the characters themselves are very well done. The romantic side of it doesn't really appeal to me, and that's pretty much the case for every Disney story. I can't think of a Disney film that I love based on the romance. My favourite Disney princess film, without a doubt, is Sleeping Beauty, but the romantic aspect I don't care for. I love it because of how dark it is, and I love Maleficent, I love the fairies. So because Aladdin is very much driven by romance, I think that's another aspect that I don't completely love. And even watching it now, while I prefer it now as an adult to what I did as a child, that part of it is still taking a backseat for me. It's the elements around that I really thoroughly enjoy. And then, of course, we have the soundtrack. And it's absolutely fantastic. My two favourites are honestly probably most people's favourites, and that's Prince Ali and A Whole New World. Although, to be fair, I can't listen to A Whole New World without hearing Katie Price sing it, which is not great. But it is an amazing song, of course it is. And Prince Ali is just it makes me smile so much because it's a great song and I love Robin Williams and his vocal performance is just, well, it's astounding, it's incredible, it's perfect, but I'm not surprised because it is Robin Williams and he's amazing and I just absolutely love the Genie. In fact, despite my indifference towards this film in some ways, I actually have a t-shirt with the Genie on it, which definitely goes some way to saying how much I actually love the Genie as a character. Slightly biased because I love Robin Williams tremendously. The film is incredible and I can't fault it, honestly. It has 8 out of 10 on IMDb across 472,000 reviews and ratings. So I'd say it's absolutely one of the most beloved Disney films. I have seen the live action remake, which is very good in its own ways, but I don't think it compares. So despite the fact that I did watch this as a child and I was scared of it, it's never going to be one of my all-time favourites, but watching it now as an adult, it's one where I have a lot more appreciation for the skill that's gone into this. That's in terms of the development of the story, the crafting of the narrative, and the writing of the characters. The animation is stunning. The music is absolutely splendid. It's an interesting one, because usually if I have this much love for a film as an adult, I also loved it that much as a child, but I do think just the combination of some pretty scary elements and a very romance-driven narrative just didn't appeal to me as a child. But as an adult, I think it's brilliant. So I'm going to say, yes, I recommend it, but I feel like most people have seen it. But what I will say is if you watched it as a child and didn't like it, I'd say give it a watch now as an adult. For me, at least, it was a very different experience, a much better experience as an adult. I have seen it, I think, maybe 3 times since 2014. I think, maybe 4. But definitely, probably the amount of times I saw it as a child. So, really prefer it a lot more now. I have seen the sequels. I think I've reviewed one of the sequels. And I will obviously watch the other one at some point. The other ones, I can't remember. I'll need to double check. But I was surprised that I'd never actually discussed this one at any point. So I can now say that I have done that. I'm actually really glad I had a reason to watch it again because I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Great story. The romance aspect still doesn't appeal to me, but the rest of it definitely does. I was scared of it as a child, but the scarier elements are what I absolutely adore about it now. Great voice acting, beautiful animation, and of course, we have some fabulous, fabulous music as well. In fact, I'd say Prince Ali is probably one of my favourite Disney songs of all time. Maybe, possibly, maybe in a top 20. But either way, absolutely love it. Very different experience watching this as an adult to when I was a child. And if for whatever reason you haven't seen Aladdin or you haven't seen it in a while, it's definitely worth watching.